Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to say a big thank you to you for making it possible our gathering together here today to share ideas on some serious academic topics. Such a broad topic, history of Ghanaian Adinkra symbols, proverbs, folklore, and their interpretation in Ghanaian higher education would require a number of hours to deliberate upon. Unfortunately, I am giving just 10 minutes to talk about such a broad topic. Whatever the case, it is important to use the given time appropriately. What are Adinkra symbols? Adinkra symbols are aspects of African, specifically Ghanaian graphic art with meanings, history, and philosophy. Adinkra symbols are used extensively in fabrics, logos, poetry, architecture, and folklore. Like most African art forms, Adinkra symbols are used to communicate through proverbs and aphorism. Let me go to the history of Adinkra symbols. The Adinkra symbols of Ghana have a history of origin with its roots from the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana, West Africa. There are, however, other schools of thought. One such school of thought about the origin of Adinkra symbols is the German school of thought, German school of thought. Then the Arab school of thought and the Ashanti school of thought. The German school of thought has it that a war broke out between the main Ashanti kingdom and its sub-kingdom called the German state in the Ivory Coast. This happened in 1818. When the people of German decided to break away from the Ashanti kingdom and form their own kingdom. In so doing, they decided to make for themselves a golden stool, knowing very well that golden stool was and still is the symbol of the Ashanti kingdom and forbidden for anybody to attempt or even dream of making one. So a people who belong to the main kingdom, knowing very well about the do's and don'ts of the kingdom, decide to go and make for yourself a golden stool. So this is the main reason of the war. The breakaway German lost the war, and it is believed in the German school of thought that their war general, who was also their paramount chief, was wearing a piece of cloth And that piece of cloth was taken as a trophy by the Ashanti army. They brought it home and started copying the symbols they saw in them. It was the name of the paramount chief of the Jauman state that was given to that piece of cloth. The name of the paramount chief of the Jauman state was Adinkra, Kojo Adinkra. When that occurred, or when that happened, and they brought the piece of cloth home, they reduplicated and used it in various forms. In architectural work, in pottery, in fabrics, in logo, in folklore, in almost everything called art. Then another school of thought by European writers who believe that the African cannot design or invent or make such beautiful symbols. So to them, it is the Arabs who paid visit or who first visited Africa that brought these symbols to Africa. Then the main school of thought, the Ashanti school of thought, which believes that the symbols which they called Adinkra was already in existence before they went to war with the German people of Ivory Coast. The war took place in 1818. In 1817, there was a British called T.B. Badwi who had come to live among the Ashantis for 6 months. T.B. Badwi documented a lot of these symbols, and when he was going back to his country, England, the king of Ashanti gave him a present in the form of textile piece of cloth. T.B. Badwi deposited this piece of cloth in the British Museum of Mankind, which could be found today in the museum, and which date is still written 1817. 1817 predates the War of 1818. It is for this reason that I agree in no uncertain terms with the Ashanti school of thought. Adinkra symbol, a specific Adinkra symbol called Announc, the great spider, draws attention to folklore in which, in one of the Announc or the spider's philosophical work of philosophical thinking, the legendary spider wandered the world, roamed all over the world to collect everything called wisdom. Anansi, the spider, having satisfied himself with the fact that he had gathered all the wisdom in the world, put them in a pot and sealed the pot. Anansi, who wanted to be the only wise person in the world, decided to go and hide the pot which he claims he had gathered all wisdom in the world and sealed in, to go and hide the pot on top of a roof, on top of a tree. Whilst climbing the tree, Anansi hanged the pot on his stomach and struggled to climb the tree. He had series of challenges trying to climb a tree with a pot full of wisdom. His son, called Intikuma, stood by and drew his father's attention to the fact that it was absolutely impossible to climb a tree with a pot hanging on your belly, and advised his father to hang the pot behind him to enable him climb the tree. Upon hearing the advice from his son, Anansi took offense. That after all, I wasn't able to collect all the wisdom. Some are left behind, which my son is using to correct me. So Anansi, the spider, got very angry and left the pot from the top of the tree to fall on the ground. And when it fell, it broke into pieces. And the wisdom scattered all over the world. It is believed that this is how wisdom came to the world. So this folklore is deep-rooted in one of the symbols called Anansi Kukruku. So this is the symbol, Adinkra symbol we spoke about. It is called Anansi Kukruku in the Twi language. In English, a great spider. These are symbols, Adinkra symbols, that talk about the Almighty, omnipotent God. This symbol is called Je Nyame, meaning God alone. This symbol is Nyamidua, tree of God. This Adinkra symbol is Nyamingui Namawu. I will die only when God dies. As long as God is alive, I am also alive. So, to those oppressors who think that the African did not know God before they came to introduce their type of God, are a joke. the African knew God before the coming of Europeans to the continent. These Adinkra symbols talk about living in harmony. The first one, Obi Nka Obi, bite not one another. Live in peace. Don't quarrel. This one is telling us that the teeth and the tongue live together in harmony. Occasionally, the teeth would bite the tongue. But that is not to say that they are not living in harmony. We must live in harmony even when we disagree. A sin, which is the teeth, and ne techrema, the teeth and the tongue. These Adinkra symbols are of the same kind. One is in abstract form and the other in its objective form. It is known both as Sankofa, go back to your roots, or go back and fetch what you have left behind. These are a few selected Adinkra symbols. The first one is Pimpamsi, reorganize, or organized, or put together. The next one is an egg, a hand carry an egg, warning governors and politicians that to me tisekusuya, power is just like an egg. If you mishandle it, you hold it too firm, you break it. If you hold it lightly, too lightly, you break it. For which reason you have to be very, very careful in handling human beings. Leaders are being advised to learn how to handle human beings. This one is two crocodiles with one stomach. Siamine crocodile. Funtum frafu ne denchemfemfu. Telling us that a philosophical analysis of it reveals that why do people fight? One stomach, yet when they are eating, you see them struggling for the food. This is because each of them wants to have a taste of the food. So this tells you that even within a family, there are disagreements. When you come here, peace mission, Mpatapo, people sent on mission to go and keep peace often have this symbol, either in their clothing or on placards, on platforms. This is Akuma Ntwaso heart extension. It is teaching people to learn how to accommodate, have a large heart to accommodate. This one is Guinea men, the ram's horn. Two ram horns are put together. One of the horns here, the other there. Horns put together, but they are not locking horns. They are not fighting. It is not always that you put your heads together, your horns together in a form of fight. Sometimes for jojo, communication. From the discussion we've had on Adinkra Symbols, it is strange for some people to feel that the African knows nothing. We are more often than not told that the African has no philosophy, has no art forms, has no way of doing things on his or her own. The African, they say, had no religion. But the names of the objects, the Adinkra Symbols suggest that they had long, long ago begun serious learning. Philosophy, anthropology, sociology, arts, crafts, everything was embodied in Adinkra Symbols, telling the world that before the coming of Europeans, the African had their own way of doing things, their own way of communicating. But for their coming, the African would have developed his own way of writing. What we are seeing today is a clear indication of the fact that the African was on the verge of developing to the highest level his own form of writing. Strangely enough, the people who live in Africa are made to believe that they were discovered by some people. When we were in school, in our youthful days, we were studying something like, who discovered the river Niger? And the answer was Mango Park. When Mango Park came to Africa, the African led him to see the river they were drinking from, the river they were washing with, taking water from to do their washing, to do their laundry. The water, the river they were using to water their crops. Thousands of years, somebody came, called himself Mango Park, and said he was the one who discovered the river the Nigerians, the river Niger, Nigerians were drinking from. They did worse things by not allowing all these symbols to be learned in school. They were painted in the mud. We were told that they are symbols of ungodliness. So in our schools, a lot of things are not permitted. People are not allowed to speak their own local language. People who spoke their own language were spanked. Everybody was to speak the European language, either French, English, or something else. And symbolism in art was forbidden in our schools. You could only learn about Leonardo da Vinci. You could not learn about Adinkra Symbols. You could not even wear clothes which had such symbols. It is for this reason that the area of academic in the African world is facing serious challenges and crises. The time has come for the school curriculum to change, and now. Thank you.